It's an interesting thing about beauty. Sometimes you overlook it. A particular story of mine, I think, illustrates this. A few years back, I was negotiating via a Zoom meeting with my contact in Japan the purchase of a number of items of Japanese antiques from a family. They kept referring me to this wakizashi that they had and treasured. Said, would you be interested in buying it? And I took a cursory look at it and I said no. And then after we had concluded the deal for the other items, they said, would you be interested in including this piece? It's been in our family for very many years. And it's quite beautiful. So I, out of courtesy, took another look at it. And I discovered that what I thought was the runt of the litter turned out to be the prize of the litter. This is an absolutely exquisite wakizashi from the 14th century, and it's got a nice backstory that we're going to discuss today. This is Sword Talk. Hello again, everybody. Wherever you are, however you found us, welcome to another episode of Sword Talk. Before we get started, we have some YouTube cleanup, and then I also have some comments from our last episode. First, the YouTube stuff. If you're new to the show, welcome. We have pretty much formed a nice personal family of people who are interested in art history, all told against the background of samurai. Welcome to the site. Do subscribe. It really helps me. It's free to you, but it shows YouTube that somebody's out there actually watching these shows. Do leave comments because I really want to know how I can improve the show for you. And you've been really honest and great about that, and I sure do appreciate that. It's been just a little over 6 months that we've been on the air, and word is spreading, and from your comments, you're enjoying what we're doing, so we're just going to keep it up. To clean up from last time, the last episode, we varied a little bit, and we did a new sword, part of the 8 Samurai series, which if you go to my website, I can hear Andre saying, tell them about the website. Okay, my website is american-samurai.com, American dash, don't forget the dash, it's important, .com. And that has a whole bunch of sections on the 8 Samurai series, which is my project, my lifetime project, my contribution to the history and legacy of samurai, since it's a project never been done before in the history of samurai. Okay, today is a wakizashi. It's 14th century. Wakizashis, again, are the smaller swords. There's the katana, which can only be carried by a samurai. The wakizashi, which the samurai did carry, that was his second sword. He always was two-sworded, and sometimes three-sworded with a tanto, but always with the two swords. The wakizashi, however, could also be owned and carried by merchants, members of the court. So, more wakizashis out there. This one's been in the family for 6 centuries. Yep, that long. Amazing. It is, though, this is what attracted me to it. It is the sword of a warrior. This one had a lot of flaws, but I love the flaws. And then it also had a lot of really nice features, like the fittings, which were added a couple of hundred years later. Somebody who venerated the previous owner, and of course the legacy of this sword, which is a beautiful sword, and with great history. Then dressed it up with some nicer, finer koshirae. But the original sword, it has a lot of nicks and cuts on the saya. This sword has been in battle. It also has a kojiri, which, if you've been following episodes of this show, you know I love kojiris because they're rare. I don't get to see a lot of them. And sometimes they're just the horn of a water buffalo. This one is tetsu. It's metal, which means it's really old. But it was not made for this saya, for this scabbard. It was jammed on here. the romantic in me thinks that it pictures a scenario where on the eve of battle, the owner of this sword had a split saya, took a kojiri or the butt cap from maybe another sword, probably a katana. It's a little bit too big for this. Jammed it onto this one, maybe added a little rice glue or something to kind of hold it in there. Well, you could use this defensively. The katana and the wakizashis were used in battle. The sayas were even before you drew the sword, or if you were in the midst of a battle and your sword had fallen out, you could use this as a defensive attack until you could get on the offensive again. This kojiri, though, that he used is gorgeous. It was covered with tarnish and grime when I got it. I polished it up, and it's great. It's got silver, it's got copper, and parts of the copper are kind of like a rosé silver, which is difficult to photograph because it comes across looking at rust, but it isn't. It's a beautiful kind of piece of art, and it's old too. It's contemporaneous with the blade. The fittings aren't, but the kojiri is. Okay, what else was wrong with this blade? Well, the saya, again, being original, it had a space for a kozuka, a utility knife, but the space was empty. The knife had long ago, I suspect, been sold, because what happens with these art pieces is they get stripped and sold for pieces. The original fittings may have met that fate, but the good news is they were replaced with probably even finer fittings, because they weren't doing this kind of work in the 14th and 15th century. So this is great. Blade, as I said, 1394, early Muromachi period, one of the most popular periods for collecting swords. But again, we're going by the artwork. That's one of my primary things, the artwork. I don't care if it's 200 years old or 700 years old. I don't buy it because of the age. It's got to be a beautiful blade. So it had no kozukas. It was missing. Good for me, because I could then negotiate a lower price. I could say, well, look, the scabbard's all beat up and the kojiri's jammed on and there's no kozuka, and I can negotiate a better price for it, because I did want it when I saw the rest of what it had to offer. So this is another antique kozuka, but it's just the handle. It's no blade. It's tied down by the sagio or sagio, which is the cord that we use to tie it to our belts, and it depicts a samurai and a warrior deity having a conversation on the eve of battle. Just perfect for this blade. Let's get to the blade. All right. It is, as I said, 1394, and if you remember from previous episodes, what we've learned is the blades from that era were usually cut down from much, much longer blades. This blade is 21 inches long, which is about as long as a wakizashi goes before it becomes a katana. Well, this wakizashi was a katana and may have even been longer. It may have even been a tachi at one time, which was a very long blade for mounted soldiers, which were not called samurai then. Samurai were the foot soldiers. And we can also tell because when we take the handle off, we can see more than one hole that are in the handle, which means that the blade was modified over time. It has the hamon of the period, which is sugaha, which is more of a straight hamon. The midari and the wave patterns and the more complex patterns came afterwards. The hamon is once again the dividing line between the hard edge of the steel, the cutting edge. The middle, the darker steel that you see is the softer, which gives the samurai blades their flexibility so they bend and don't break in battle. And then the hard edge returns on the back, the spine, the muni to reinforce the strength of it. So the blade is in excellent condition. As we've learned, the blades are never allowed to fall into any disrepair, rust, or anything like that. The blades of the kozuka, the utility knives, almost always, if they survive, have rust on them. I clean them up for my clients. Collectors like the rust on the kozuka. Never is rust acceptable on the blade of a samurai sword. So even swords that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, when people see them, they go, I can't, why is it so clean? It's never allowed to rust out. This one also had a great habaki. Gold with fine texture, like the driven rain, like the summer rain. When I got it, heavily tarnished, cleaned it up. Haven't totally cleaned it up to get it to look like brand new, but I like it this way. It's kind of in its mid-state. Now we're going to discuss the fittings, and before that, we're going to do something we haven't yet done it. This will be the first time. I'm going to take the tsuba off so we can look at it more closely. So what we do is the first thing we do is we take the handle off. We take the plug out. There's a little bamboo plug right here that connects the handle to the sword. All right, what we've done is we've taken the plug out, the little bamboo plug that we push out from here, from the handle, and that releases the blade, and this is where we usually check on the markings of the blade to see a signature, something called file markings, which also tell us about the school. There are these seppas, which are fittings to keep the tsuba tight onto the handle. Take those off, take the fitting off, carefully lay the blade down so we don't cut ourselves. And now we have the tsuba. And this particular tsuba, we noticed right away, is signed. So the first thing we see on the tsuba is that it is signed. And it is the Sōten school. And this is, well, one of the 3-4 most famous schools of art for tsuba. Sōten is always identifiable. It's always scenes of battles and samurais and fighting, extensively carved out of iron, tetsu, and difficult to do. They take a solid piece of iron and carve out these beautiful, beautiful scenes, and then highlight them with gold and silver. And the background is shikuto, which is a mix of gold and copper. This is just a fine piece. And as I said, it always has the outer rim in gold, and so I like Sōten pieces. All right, the front, back again. I want to point out there's 3 openings on this particular tsuba. There's the middle, of course, that's always there. That's where the blade goes through. And then there's an oval on the left, and then it's a semi-regular one on the right. Those openings are there for the kozuka and the kogai. By having the opening in the tsuba, it means that the samurai can pull those 2 out as needed without having to take the whole sword out of the scabbard. All right, so I have now remounted the tsuba back on. I want to draw the attention now to talk about the other fittings. The fushi and koshirae was the star of the show, and really the reason I bought it, because they're both artistically done. They're both absolutely gorgeous. They were probably added in the maybe 17th century, or even as late as the 18th century, because the workmanship is that good. Every piece on that koshirae, which is what we're looking at, which is at the butt end of the handle, every small piece of gold and leaf and flower and tail of the rooster, individually done and then affixed to the metal on a background of shukudo, which is gold and mixture of gold and copper. Exquisitely done. All in all, a fine piece. Not a perfect piece, so that's what I like That's what I like about it. This was definitely the sword of a warrior. It is for sale on our antiques section of the website, but don't buy anything this month. Wait till don't tell Andre I said this. We're going to have a sale starting July 1st. 10% off of all antiques only. 10% off of all antiques. So don't buy anything now because this episode's being filmed in June. So wait for the sale. Okay. Don't tell Andre I told you that. That's this episode's wakizashi, birds and flowers, also called fighting rooster. The samurai love the fighting spirit of the rooster, and it became a very, very common theme on fittings for samurai swords. Again, check our website out. A lot of sections in there, including the daily Zen inspiration. Feel free to send your own samurai or Zen inspirations. We love them. We'll add them on. Zen teaching stories are there. If you have any that you particularly are fond of, send those along. We'll add those on. This is a real interactive kind of show and interactive kind of website. We really appreciate your support. Till next time, I want to thank you for watching. Tell your friends about it. And as always, a very sincere thank you for your time.